This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, first, China is blasting the EU over 5G restrictions, calling the move discriminatory. However, Beijing is praising Canada's new electric vehicle tariffs as a positive step for trade cooperation. In Latin America, acting President Delcy Rodriguez has signed Venezuela's first ever gas export contract. Rodriguez is now pushing to open the oil sector to private investment, while touring areas hit by recent U.S. airstrikes. A deadly airstrike in southern Lebanon has put the 2024 ceasefire at risk. One person is dead after Israel targeted what it calls a Hezbollah weapons site in Kafr Danim. In Southeast Asia, the death toll has risen to 25 after a massive landslide in West Bandung, Indonesia. Rescue teams are racing to find more than 70 people still missing beneath the mud. In the Philippines, the impeachment case against President Marcos Jr. may be dead on arrival. A retired general and legal expert claims the filing violates a recent Supreme Court ruling. Former Defense Chief Norberto Gonzales says Sara Duterte's popularity is stumping her critics. Gonzales claims the vice president's mass appeal is causing some Marcos allies to shift their stance. 17 Filipino sailors are back in the Philippine custody after a deadly shipwreck. The China Coast Guard handed over the survivors to the PCG on Sunday. Following the capsizing of a Singaporean cargo ship, 2 sailors are confirmed dead, while 4 others remain missing. And in the world of K-pop, BTS stars V and Jungkook have won their defamation lawsuit. A South Korean court found a YouTube channel liable for spreading false and damaging information about the K-pop idols. I am Paul Montibon. Newsline World starts now. Search and rescue teams in the Indonesia area racing against time with 25 bodies recovered after a devastating landslide that buried dozens of homes in West Bandung Regency. As the death toll rises, over 70 people remain unaccounted for beneath tons of mud and debris. Carlo de la Peña has the latest updates.
In the village of Pasir Langu, the landscape has been transformed into a wasteland of mud and uprooted trees. Improved weather on Sunday allowed a 250-member search team to recover 14 more bodies, bringing the confirmed death toll to 25. The pre-dawn landslide, triggered by days of torrential rain on the slopes of Mount Burangrang, completely buried 34 houses, many up to their roof lines. Rescuers have been forced to dig using farm tools in their bare hands, as unstable terrain remains too soft for heavy machinery to operate safely.
Awalnya memang hujan intensitasnya cukup tinggi. Kemudian ada hambatan air, ada yang ngegenang seperti itu. Kemudian ada terhalang dan airnya memang sudah jenuh karena hujannya terus-menerus hingga pada akhirnya turun si tanah itu ke bawah menjadi menjadi banjir bandang gitu ya, menjadi longsoran itu yang terjadi.
An estimated 72 people are still missing, feared buried under the mounds of mud reaching up to 5 meters high. Indonesian Vice President Gibran Rakabuming Raka visited the site on Sunday, pledging government action to address land conversion issues in disaster-prone areas. Meanwhile, hundreds of displaced residents are sheltering in emergency tents, waiting for news of loved ones as search dogs and drones continue to scan the debris field.
Pertama ada suara keluar saya udah penuh sama Pak. Padahal gak ada air, gak ada apa. Lari ke atas Pak? Ya, lari ke atas semuanya. Terjangan yang kedua, rumah saya langsung hilang. Nah, terjangan 3 rumah semua. Anak saya ini hilang. Jadi ini dua kali terjang hilang rumah ini. Yang pertama hilang yang itu, yang pertama yang tertimbun.
With more rain forecasted for West Java in the coming days, authorities have warned that the risk of secondary landslides remain a critical threat to both survivors and rescue crews. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Tensions are mounting in southern Lebanon after an Israeli airstrike killed one person and wounded 5 others in Kfar Tunin. On Sunday, the strike, which Israel says targeted a Hezbollah weapons site, has raised new questions about the stability of the 2024 ceasefire. Joy Tabanao reports.
The town of Kfar Tunin was rocked by a massive explosion on Sunday as Israeli warplanes targeted a building between Kerbet Salem and Kfar Tunin. The Lebanese Public Health Emergency Operations Center confirmed the casualty toll, stating that 1 person was killed while 5 others were rushed to nearby hospitals with shrapnel wounds. Lebanese army personnel and rescue crews spent a day sifting through the rubble of what residents say was a civilian-occupied building. Among those affected was Hussein Hamdan, a man who had already fled his home in Maz al-Jabal to seek safety, only to have his new livelihood destroyed in seconds.
ماس الجبل عنا أرزاق ملايين الدولارات مسحت ما بقي معنا شيء رجعنا هون حبينا نرجع من أول وجديد نبلش ما خصنا بحدا نحن دايرين على رزقنا بس بدنا نعيش مش أكتر. انذار ما أعطوا 10 أمتار 15 متر من بعيد الغارة وين الدولة تحكي معهم وين على أساس عم بيعملوا اجتماعات وين يعني شو طلع ما بقي عندنا شيء صالتين هون صالة لنا ولأهلي هون فوق وتحت ومستودعات وشقة كمان ما بقي فيهم شيء.
The Israel Defense Forces issued a statement shortly after, claiming the structure was being used by Hezbollah terrorist elements as a weapons manufacturing site. The IDF maintains that its actions are necessary to prevent the group from rebuilding its military infrastructure south of the Litani River. However, residents like Hamdan say the strike hit just meters away from family halls and warehouses, leaving them with nothing but shattered glass and mounting debt. The attack comes despite the ceasefire agreement signed in November 2024, which has seen repeated violations as both sides maintain a heavy military presence in the border region.
حج بيي كان قاعد بالوجه نزل ازاز عليه اتقطب تقريبا برقبته بايديه الله زمته وانا والوالده قلبت علينا خزانه والشظيه اجت حد راسي الله زمتني الحمد لله انه بقينا بخير.
As the smoke clears, the Lebanese government is facing increasing pressure to address the frequent strikes that continue to displace civilians and threaten the fragile truce. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
A retired AFP general who is also a lawyer explained why the first impeachment case filed against President Bongbong Marcos Jr. violates a recent Supreme Court ruling. MJ Montibon reports.
Pag yung pong unang verified complaint na 4 pages ay in-initiate ninyo at inuna ninyo, hindi po yun magiging basihan ng totohanan na makatwiran na pagproseso.
According to retired AFP Brigadier General Virgilio Garcia, the Supreme Court has now imposed stricter standards on impeachment procedures. This followed the Supreme Court's 2025 declaration that the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte is unconstitutional. The SC ruling states that there must be due process and fairness at every stage of the impeachment process. This includes the obligation of the complainant to present sufficient evidence to support the complaint.
Ngayon po, hindi na pwedeng ma-initiate yung 4-page na verified impeachment complaint kasi sabi nga po ng Supreme Court sa kaso nga po ng Duterte versus House of Representatives, the impeachment is an effective tool for accountability.
For Attorney Garcia, the impeachment case filed against President Marcos Jr., submitted by Attorney Andre De Jesus, is questionable because it allegedly contained no attachments or supporting evidence.
Yung pong nauna, maliwanag na maliwanag, alam po ng taong bayan, nung i-final po yun, wala pong attachment yun. And it cannot be the basis of an impeachment, of a valid impeachment ruling dahil hindi nga po mapapatunayan ang mga aligasyon doon dahil walang naka-attach na evidence.
Attorney Garcia further said that their complaint against the president, which they call the people's impeachment, is the one that should be accepted by the House. He added that another impeachment complaint against the president was also filed by the Makabayan bloc. In total, 3 impeachment complaints have been submitted against the president, but only the first complaint, which had no attachments, was accepted by the House.
Pagka kami nag-file, pagkatapos ni-refer nila sa Committee on Justice, that's it. Yun na yun. And that defeats all others. Dapat, kung magre-refer sila, kung magkakalendar sila, yung tatlo, pag sabay-sabayin nilang i-refer sa i-calendar sa order of business, at pagkatapos ay kung alin doon yung complying dahil may mga attachments, kompleto ang allegation, walang problema, i-refer nila ngayon sa Committee on Justice.
The retired general then called on to the Filipino people to support their appeal in order to pressure the House of Representatives to accept their complaint against the president.
We're talking about the impeachment of President Bongbong Marcos. Hindi pwede pong maging basihan ng totohanang paglilitis dahil kulang po, walang attachment. Hindi po siya sumasang-ayon sa ruling ng Supreme Court.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Up next, former Defense Chief Norberto Gonzales says Sara Duterte's popularity is stumping her critics. Gonzales claims the Vice President's mass appeal is causing some Marcos allies to shift their stance. And 17 Filipino sailors are back in the Philippine custody after a deadly shipwreck. The China Coast Guard handed over the survivors to the Philippine Coast Guard on Sunday following the capsizing of a Singaporean cargo ship. 2 sailors are confirmed dead, while 4 others remain missing. More news when Newsline World returns.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito, pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, saka palalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
back, former Department of National Defense Secretary Norberto Gonzales said that the biggest problem of Vice President Sara Duterte's critics is her popularity, meaning they themselves are not known to the Filipino people. As a result, he noted that allies and friends of President Bongbong Marcos are gradually shifting their positions. Almar Forzuelo reports.
Ang problema nilang malaki, mukhang si Vice President Sara, mukhang kaya silang talunin.
This is how former Department of National Defense Secretary Norberto Gonzales describes the current situation of Vice President Sara Duterte and her critics. Gonzales made a statement amid what appears to be relentless political attacks by the current administration's camp against the Vice President. In an exclusive interview with SMNI News, the former secretary explained that VP Sara's critics already want to win the 2028 elections, which is why they are attempting to defeat her as early as now. However, the biggest challenge facing Inday Sara's opponents, according to Gonzales, is her popularity, as they themselves are not known to the Filipino people.
Pilit nila, talunin na ngayon tanggalin nila. Gusto talaga nilang manalo sa 2028. Ang nakikita siguro nila, they're so unpopular.
Gonzales added that filing an impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos Jr. and eventually abandoning him is what they see as a solution to gain the support of the public.
Kaya nagsisimula na sila ng kilos na para bang humikiling na sila sa popular na sentimiento ng sambayanan.
Meanwhile, Gonzales believes that history shows that no matter how financially well supported a president's allies may be, there will come a time when he can be removed from office.
Panahon ni Marcos Sr., hindi natin masasabing hindi busog ang birokrasya, hindi busog yung mga korona niya, busog pati ang armed forces, police, lahat yan, busog yan. Bakit natanggal pa rin siya? Kasi may hangganan ng pera.
Gonzales then delivered this message to the Filipino people.
Huwag tayo matakot sa mga nagsasabi na kapag tinanggal ang Pangulo, magkakagulo. Hindi totoo yan. Kasi baka mas maganda ang papalit. Di ba? Hindi natin alam yan Hindi totoo na kapag karoon ng mga aksyon na nagsasabi na pagbabago, magkakagulo ang bayan. Hindi totoo yan. May kasaysayan tayo na nakita natin na kaya nating baguhin ng total ang ating gobyerno nang walang gulong nangyayari. Peaceful tayo
For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
2 more flood control projects of DPWH Mimaropa in Nauhan, Oriental Mindoro were found to be substandard. According to Governor Bons Dolor, the projects failed to serve their purpose and instead caused inconvenience as flooding continues to affect the province. Sheena Torno has the news.
Ayon sa disenyo ng DPWH, una muna ang sheet files, pagkatapos ng sheet files, saka ilalagay. Yun, ang tawag nila doon ay ito, foundation field ng sa ilalim, ang tawag nila dyan, geotextile, pampatibay dapat. Ang problema, kitang-kita nyo naman, salit na nasa loob, nasa labas.
Oriental Mindoro Governor Bons Dolor personally presented the plans and designs of DPWH Mimaropa for 2 flood control projects in Nauhan. However, during an inspection conducted by the governor, the projects appeared to be defective, damaged, and substandard. These flood control structures reportedly cost more than 400 million pesos. The inspection was prompted by the continuous flooding experience in the towns of Victoria and Nauhan. Based on the investigation of the Provincial Engineering Office, the actual construction did not follow the approved design. The sheet piles installed were shorter and far from the required 12-meter depth indicated in the DPWH Mimaropa plans.
Una ko pong na-notice, bukod sa wasak, yung pagkakagawa ng disenyong ito. Pag tinitingnan ko nga po, nagugulat ako. Nakakalungkot. Dahil sa halip na nakakatulong sa ating mga kababayan, naging sanhi pa ng pagbaha.
based on the contract agreement of the DPWH and records from the Sumbong sa Pangulo website. The two projects started on February 11. The two projects started on February 11, 2023. One project was reportedly completed on February 5, 2024, while the other was finished on December 10, 2023. Governor Dolor also questioned why both projects were awarded to the same construction company, New Big 4J. It was also learned that the projects were signed and approved by former DPWH Mimaropa Regional Director Gerald Pacanan. Pacanan is among the co-accused of former Ako Bicol Congressman Zaldico in connection with the alleged 289.5 million pesos ghost flood control project at Mag-asawang Tubig River, Sitio Dique, Barangay Apitong Section in Nauhan. The former DPWH official is currently detained at the New Quezon City Jail male dormitory in Payatas and is facing malversation charges. As of now, DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon has yet to issue a statement regarding the newly discovered substandard flood control projects in Nauhan Oriental, Mindoro. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
The Philippine Department of Budget and Management has released its 2027 National Budget Call, formally launching preparations for the next fiscal year and outlining priorities focused on inclusive growth, fiscal discipline, and stronger regional participation. Creselyn Catarong will give us the details.
Signed by Budget Secretary Rolando Toledo, National Budget Memorandum Number 156 sets the guidelines, priorities, and safeguards that government agencies must follow in crafting their fiscal year 2027 budget proposals. The budget call aligns with the Philippine Development Plan or PDP Midterm Update 2023 to 2028 and the Medium-Term Fiscal Framework 2022 to 2030 to ensure continuity of reforms while addressing emerging economic and social challenges. Toledo said the budget call underscores the administration's commitment to efficient, transparent, and results-driven public spending. The DBM said the 2027 national budget will support the final phase of PDP implementation by translating long-term development goals into concrete and fundable programs. Priority areas include protecting household purchasing power, accelerating inclusive and sustainable growth through infrastructure, strengthening climate resilience, advancing digital government services, and promoting balanced regional development, particularly in disadvantaged and lagging local government units. The memorandum also strengthens public financial management reforms, requiring agencies to demonstrate value for money, implementation readiness, and strong capacity to deliver projects before funding is approved. A key feature of the 2027 budget call is the strengthened role of Regional Development Councils or RDCs. Under the new guidelines, priority regional programs must secure endorsement from the RDCs to improve coordination among national agencies, regional offices, and local governments. The DBM says the move is intended to prevent misaligned projects and ensure government spending responds to actual local needs. The DBM also shared only projects with clear timelines, funding discipline, and proven track records will be included in the proposed 2027 national budget, reinforcing the government's cash-based budgeting approach. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Creselyn Catarong, SMNI News.
When we return in Latin America, acting President Delcy Rodriguez has signed Venezuela's first ever gas export contract. Rodriguez is now pushing to open the oil sector to private investment while touring areas hit by recent U.S. airstrikes. In a world of K-pop, BTS stars V and Jungkook have won their defamation lawsuit. A South Korean court found a YouTube channel liable for spreading false and damaging information about the K-pop idols. More news after the break.
Saan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas?
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala, sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumunong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang kanilang mga salita upang lalo nating mahalin at tapat na paglingkuran ang minamahal nating inang bayan.
Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez has announced a historic shift in the nation's economy with the signing of its first gas export contract, while pushing for new laws to open the oil sector to private investment. Rodriguez also took aim at opposition leaders during a visit to communities devastated by recent U.S. airstrikes. Prince Tripoli tells us more.
At the Puerto de la Cruz oil refinery in Venezuela, acting President Delcy Rodriguez outlined plans to transform the country into a major energy exporter. Rodriguez confirmed that Caracas has signed its first ever contract to export natural gas, a move she says will bring hope and prosperity to the Venezuelan people. The announcement comes as lawmakers in the National Assembly debate reforms to the hydrocarbons law, which would allow private and foreign companies to participate in oil and gas exploitation for the first time in decades. Despite the recent U.S. intervention, Rodriguez maintained that Venezuela is not afraid to pursue its energy agenda with any country, including the United States.
Y nos toca ahora convertirnos del país de las mayores reservas petroleras del mundo, de las mayores reservas de gas de este hemisferio, nos toca ahora convertirnos en una verdadera potencia productora de petróleo y de gas. Y no tener miedo a la agenda energética, ni con los Estados Unidos, ni con el resto de los países del mundo. Es un derecho de Venezuela la diversidad en sus relaciones internacionales.
While the government eyes economic recovery, the scars of the January 3rd military operation remain visible in communities like Katia Lamar. Rodriguez visited the Las Tuglit sector to oversee aid for over 5,000 families, while homes and infrastructure were damaged during the U.S. strikes. During her visit, she launched a blistering attack on opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, calling her shameful for supporting the foreign military intervention. Machado, who recently met President Trump in Washington, has been a vocal supporter of the operation that led to the capture of Nicolas Maduro.
Es vergonzoso ver a una venezolana que se dice venezolana ir a dar las gracias por el bombardeo y la agresión militar extranjera contra Venezuela. No creo que sea venezolana, porque el sentir del pueblo venezolano es el rechazo a cualquier tipo de agresión que cause sufrimiento a nuestro pueblo, que cause angustia en nuestra juventud, en nuestros niños. No creo que podamos llamarlo venezolano, así que...
Despite the harsh rhetoric, reporters indicate that Rodriguez's administration is quietly negotiating with Washington to maintain energy stability, receiving an initial $300 million payment this week. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNA News.
With smiles, applause, and a touch of sadness, Visitors bid farewell to Xiao Xiao and Lei Lei, the two adorable pandas, as they return to China. In other news, how would you feel if you were one of the guests when a police officer shows up at a wedding? Well, that's exactly what happened at the Robin and Aaron's wedding, leaving their guests stunned and a little nervous until the twist that had everyone laughing. Faith Agustin has the story.
Two beloved giant pandas as the animals prepare to return safely to China, marking a proud chapter in international friendship and wildlife conservation. For years, the pandas have brought joy to millions of visitors, symbolizing peace, cooperation, and the shared responsibility of protecting endangered species. Xiao Xiao and Lei Lei, born at Tokyo's Ueno Zoo in 2021, have become local icons, capturing the hearts of all who visited. Crowds gathered at Ueno Zoo in recent days, many waving banners and snapping final photos as the nation expressed its affection for the gentle giants. Zoo officials highlighted the success of the care provided in Japan and emphasized that the pandas will now continue their journey at a world-class conservation and breeding center in China's Sichuan province. As the pandas head home, Japan carries forward the memories, lessons, and inspiration they left behind. At a recent wedding, Robin pulled off a prank that had everyone on their toes before erupting in laughter. Months before the big day, Robin came up with a hilarious surprise, telling only her husband Aaron and dad Steven about the plan. On the wedding day, two performers dressed as serious-looking police officers entered the venue, announcing they were searching for Steven, the father of the bride, for questioning. As the officer's serious tone sent waves of confusion and concern through the crowd, guests started to wonder if something had gone wrong. But just as the tension reached its peak, the officers broke into an energetic song and dance routine, revealing it was all part of Robin's well-executed prank. The room burst into laughter, and Steven, who was in on the joke, couldn't help but join in the fun. The well-timed twist turned what could have been an anxious moment into a joyful celebration of humor, creativity, and the bride's love for surprises. This has been Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
BTS stars V and Jungkook scored a legal victory after a South Korean court found a YouTube channel liable for defamation, citing the spread of false and damaging information. Meanwhile, television host Bianca Gonzalez has criticized the high cost of traveling to Siargao, calling on authorities to make domestic flights more affordable to help support local tourism. Blake Ann has all the buzz.
BTS members V and Jungkook have secured a legal victory in an ongoing defamation case against a YouTube channel accused of spreading false information about them. On January 23, the Seoul Western District Court's Civil Appeals Division ordered the operator of the YouTube channel Taodok Suyongso to pay a total of 86 million won, or approximately 3.4 million pesos, in damages. The court ruled that several videos uploaded by the channel contained false and defamatory content targeting the two artists, causing harm to their reputation. The decision marks a significant step in holding online content creators accountable for the spread of misinformation and malicious rumors, particularly involving public figures. V and Jungkook, members of the globally renowned K-pop group BTS, have not yet released a public statement regarding the ruling. Television host Bianca Gonzalez has voiced her disappointment over the high cost of traveling to Siargao, one of the Philippines' top island destinations. She said these steep prices make it difficult for travelers to support local tourism and explore the country. Gonzalez took to her X to echo the concerns of lawyer and columnist Gregorio Larrazabal, who called on the Department of Tourism to lower the costs of domestic flights. Bianca wrote, and I quote, "That's true. Why is it like this? We booked a trip to Siargao and it is more expensive than a trip to Hong Kong, Bangkok, or Vietnam." End quote. emphasizing the surprising cost compared with other popular destinations in the region. Travel and tourism experts say the high cost of flights to domestic destinations like Siargao can discourage local tourism, and calls for more affordable options continue to grow. Gonzalez's remarks have reignited the conversation on how to make local travel more accessible to Filipinos and boost the country's tourism industry. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ann, bringing you the latest showbiz.
For our sports update, Carlos Alcaraz delivered a serving masterclass to reach the Australian Open quarterfinals, rolling past American Tommy Paul and Rod Laver Arena. Meanwhile, Patrick Reed delivered a calm and controlled final round to claim a 4-stroke victory at the Dubai Desert Classic on Sunday. Here's Carlo De La Peña for more updates.
Carlos Alcaraz continued to underline his status as the man to beat in Melbourne, combining power, precision, and an improved serve to control the match from the outset and keep his Australian Open title charge firmly on track. The top seed defeated Tommy Paul 7-6, 8-6, 6-4, 7-5, showcasing a revamped serve that drew comparisons to Novak Djokovic. Alcaraz joked afterward that Djokovic had already asked for payment for the inspiration. The 22-year-old Spaniard will next face either home favorite Alex de Minaur or Kazakhstan's Alexander Bublik. In the women's draw, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka advanced with a 6-1, 7-6, 7-1 win over Canada's Victoria Mboko and will meet 18-year-old American Eva Jovic, who swept aside Yulia Putintseva 6-0, 6-1. Meanwhile, American Patrick Reed held his nerve to claim for a 4-shot victory at the Dubai Desert Classic. Reed closed with an even par 72 to finish 14 under, earning his first Rolex Series title on the DP World Tour. He carried the 4-shot lead into the final round and protected it steadily through the front 9. Spain's David Puig briefly challenged but faltered after a bogey on the 13th and later received a 2-shot penalty on the 18th, dropping him into a tie for 7th. England's Andy Sullivan finished alone in second on 10 under. Norwegian Victor Hovland, Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry, and Tommy Fleetwood finished further down the leaderboard. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
The Philippines Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board says it will roll out a nationwide crackdown on illegal and unsafe public utility vehicle terminals, citing commuter safety and long-standing regulatory violations. This report from Val Divina Gracia.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board will tighten enforcement against terminals operating without permits or failing to meet safety standards. The move follows the agency's earlier announcement that it is reviewing policies that could block the renewal of franchises for terminals found to be unsafe or in poor condition. LTFRB Chairman Vigor Mendoza says many illegal terminals serve as sources of colorum vehicles and avenues for corruption. He added that these terminals often lack proper facilities such as adequate restrooms, shelter from rain and heat, and are unsafe for children, pregnant women, senior citizens, and persons with disabilities. Mendoza warned that riding in colorum vehicles is dangerous because they have no insurance. This means that if an accident occurs, the passengers and their families will bear the cost of hospital bills or even funeral expenses. The LTFRB campaign will include a closure of illegal terminals, including roadside operations, temporary structures, and even terminals inside malls and other establishments operating without permission. To identify illegal terminals, the LTFRB will deploy mystery passengers and coordinate with various government agencies for investigation. All LTFRB regional directors have also been instructed to conduct random and surprise inspections of bus stations and PUV terminals in their respective areas. The LTFRB warned that terminals allowing colorum vehicles to operate will not be accredited and responsible officials may face legal charges. The LTFRB advises PUV operators to use only accredited terminals to avoid suspension or revocation of their franchise. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Val Divina Gracia, SMNA News.
China has criticized the European Union's restrictions on Chinese 5G companies as politically motivated and discriminatory, while welcoming Canada's new tariff and quota arrangements for Chinese electric vehicles as a positive step for trade cooperation. Daniela Paulita for the details.
China has expressed serious concern over the European Union's designation of certain Chinese companies as high-risk suppliers in 5G construction, calling the move discriminatory and politically motivated. He Yongqian, spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, said that Chinese companies have long operated in Europe according to local laws, providing high-quality products and supporting the development of telecommunications and digital industries.
中方对此表示严重关切。中国企业长期在欧洲依法合规经营，为欧洲民众提供了优质的产品和服务，有力促进了欧洲电信和数字产业发展。然而，欧盟却在毫无事实依据的情况下，将部分中国企业列为高风险供应商，限制中国企业参与5G 建设。我们坚决反对欧方对中国企业歧视行为和将经贸问题政治化、泛安全化的错误做法。
He also criticized the EU for using non-technical standards to restrict or ban market access.
欧方使用非技术性标准强行限制，甚至禁止企业准入，不仅严重妨碍公平竞争，严重扭曲市场，而且损人不利己，是在自造风险，威胁数字产业的供应链安全。我们敦促欧方在网络安全方面坚持技术中立原则，切勿泛化安全，在保护主义的道路上越走越远，更不要阻碍中欧正常的经贸合作。
In the end, he said Beijing will closely monitor developments, warning that the country will take action to safeguard its interest.
中方将密切关注欧方相关动向，一旦欧方对中国企业采取歧视性举措，中方将坚决采取必要措施，坚定维护中国企业的合法权益。
Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
After days of uncertainty and peril, 17 Filipino sailors who were stranded in the aftermath of a shipwreck were finally returned to the Philippines, thanks to a compassionate gesture from China. Stella Maris has the story.
Thank you, Chinese Coast Guard, for helping us. And thank you for the Chinese Coast Guard who helped us to be safe now. Thank you, Chinese Coast Guard.
Emotional and filled with gratitude, the rescued Filipino fishermen expressed their thanks to the Chinese Coast Guard for their help during the harrowing experience they endured at sea. The fishermen were handed over in a heartwarming ceremony that marked the end of their harrowing journey and the beginning of their homecoming. They were found stranded after their vessel capsized in the open sea, and Chinese maritime officials quickly responded, offering their assistance in the rescue. The sailors were rescued on January 23 and immediately provided with first aid, care, and food. Today, the fishermen were greeted by Philippine officials who expressed gratitude for China's efforts in safeguarding the lives of their countrymen. As the sailor disembarked, many were seen embracing the CCG personnel with tears of joy and gratitude for their heartwarming rescue. As they return to their homes, the fishermen carry with them not only the relief of survival, but also the gratitude of a nation that can now celebrate their safe return. This is Stella Maris, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Japan's lower house of parliament has officially been dissolved after Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi called for snap elections in February. Faith Agustin has the details.
Fukushiro Nukaga, Speaker of the lower house, announced the dissolution on Friday, saying the certificate from the Prime Minister had been received and had been reading the formal declaration in accordance with Article 7 of the Japanese Constitution.
ただいま内閣総理大臣から証書が発せられた旨伝えられましたから朗読をいたします。日本国憲法第7条により衆議院を解散する。
But the move has drawn mixed reactions from political leaders. Tetsuo Saito, leader of the Komeito Party, criticized the Prime Minister's approach, saying,
高市総理は今回の選挙について私が総理大臣でいいのかということを問うそうでございます。しかし皆さん、国会は高市さんを総理大臣として指名したんです。そして私たちは今内閣不信任案を出しているわけではありません。私は今回その問い方はおかしい議会軽視だと言わざるを得ません。
Opposition leaders also voiced concerns. Yoshihiko Noda, president of the Constitutional Democratic Party, questioned the timing and motivation for the snap election, noting a lack of enthusiasm from the ruling party.
解散するとみんな戦いに向けて気合を入れるために万歳をするんですよ、普通。与野党ともに万歳をする。今日ですね、万歳してんのが元気なく自民党がやってるだけ。他の党誰も万歳してないんです。
Noda added,
物価高の折だからこそ、働いて生活者のためにもっと働きたい。そう思ってる国会議員ばっかりだったのに、なんでですか？自分が人気のあるうちに総理大臣にしてくださいという選挙じゃありませんか。
The snap election is expected to determine the future leadership of Japan and could influence key policy priorities on the economy and public welfare. This is Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Son. In everything you want to do, if you are committed, if you are consistent, you will succeed. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I am Paul Montibon. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.